Heaven's lifestyle is God's healing way. It is a divine prescription by which man can easily recover from his pain and suffering because of sickness and maladies. In this case, it is noteworthy to go back to the divine blueprint in uh, helping people who are uh, sick because of this compromised lifestyle. So, in particular, let's go to the dietary management of a diabetic patient. Why do we have to be so careful and very uh, particular in our uh, nutritional support for a chronic degenerative disease patient uh, like a diabetic person? Why? Uh, it is very important to understand that a plant-based diet or nutrition is very useful in the sense that it can easily alleviate a compromised uh, day-to-day eating habits, of which we understand that on a cellular basis, our cell is the basic unit of life, and our cell needs nutrition that comes from fruits, vegetables, nuts, and all those healthy greens and even root crops. And it is very important also to understand that we need to use these raw foods, live foods in the management of diabetic patients because of the abundance of enzymes in the fresh fruits, nuts, vegetables, and all other plant-based uh, nutritional support. Now, when we go into the serious problem of a diabetic patient, uh, we can easily see that the pancreas, that organ that is seriously damaged, more particularly the islets of Langerhans, because the islets of Langerhans are located, these islet cells that produce glucagon. The alpha cell produces glucagon, the beta cells produce insulin, and the delta cells produces also what we call somatostatin. All these three cells producing hormones can help facilitate in the proper metabolism, especially on the pancreatic level, because the process of digestion begins from the mouth. So the metabolism of carbohydrates, for instance, starts primarily on the mechanical digestion. That is what we call there has to be a proper mastication for a carbohydrate intake for every patient. And in this case, the protein and fats are um, digested right there at the stomach. So each of these digestive organ, from the mouth to esophagus to the stomach to the duodenum, then to the pancreas, the small intestine, to the large intestine, all those, including the liver, all those are actively simultaneously working for a perfect metabolism. Metabolism, by the way, is the process of converting food into nutrients, and nutrients into energy, and energy into um, substance that we can utilize for uh, all the human activity that will result to a homeostasis. Homeostasis is the internal balance of all activities in the human uh, anatomy and physiology. All the parts and functions of the human body are simultaneously working for a very uh, accurate work of each organ, like in the process of digestion, by which we can easily identify that the problem of diabetic patients, because when we see all these organs being compromised and we don't understand how it works, thereby giving us a more complicated situation. So in this case, the simple understanding of diagnostic procedure, and in the treatment much more, as we expect the result, we call this the prognosis, it has to be holistically understood that there has to be no compromise. Now, in this case, when we consume so much food that are uh, cooked, cooked food, and we consume less live foods, meaning raw foods, we need to have at least 80%, at least 80% of these um, live foods that should be taken by a diabetic patient. And if we take so much cooked food, this is acid forming. Unlike that plant-based live foods, fresh from the garden, that are actually what? Helping restore all these metabolic processes, like the supply of hormones that can facilitate in the production of all these enzymes. But the plant-based are loaded with healthy enzymes that can give a due appropriate process in the work of metabolism. So uh, going back to the basic understanding of treatment uh, to especially to a diabetic patient, we can just simply uh, remember that God has a special love for each of these physical organ. No? We have this on a cellular level, we can see how God can powerfully restore life at its best as we follow the divine blueprint by simply understanding this dietary uh, prescription, our nutritional needs. So let's remember that when we go into the treatment program, there is a simple rule to understand. It is better to obey than to compromise or sacrifice. May God help us to understand more about His healing way, this divine blueprint, God's this heaven's lifestyle. May God bless us all. This is my prayer.